Not so many kids find themselves at some point in their lives conspiring to kill their dads. Not so many kids plan on how they're going to poison the food that their father is going to eat so that at least they can finally have some peace. In 2017, I was standing outside a room, and it was, I think, around 12 a.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m. at night, and I was holding a knife in my hand, and in the other room was my mom and my dad, and they were fighting. I remember they were fighting. I could hear my mom, crying. And so I was standing there with the intention of opening or breaking that door, doing whatever it is that I would have done to break into that room and save my mom from whatever it is that she was going through. But then while I was there, I was also scared. I was trembling. I was like, gosh, what if I try to fight him and then he overpowers me and then I'm the one who ends up getting stabbed? What if I manage to actually do the thing and then he actually dies and then I have to go to prison? And then what happens to my life after that? What happens if my mom will never forgive me for doing that? So I was standing there, and in my mind there was so many things going on. I think I stood there for roughly 40 minutes, 1 hour. And then I decided to just let it be. So I walked slowly, went to the kitchen, I put back the knife, and then I went and locked myself in our bedroom. So at home we have 4 kids, 3 girls, and I'm the firstborn. So I climbed onto my bed, and I remember sitting there that whole night, crying and asking God at the time, why do we have to live such a life? Why do we have to wish? Why is there that we have to have someone who has to inflict on us so much pain? If God has all this power that we are told that he has, why can't he just save us? Is this not enough suffering for him to come and rescue us? And I remember waking up the following day thinking that, you know what, I won't kill my dad. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to go find rat at the time. Being told if people wanted to commit suicide, that's what they did. You went and bought rat and then you found a way of drinking it and you would just wait for your death. We were born into a family where our mom was, this very quiet, very humble person, and then my dad was this very, loud, aggressive person. The things my dad has done to me and my sisters cannot fit. They can't fit in one story. But I want to mention a couple that I think stood out, and they're the ones that caused me to be at that door, standing on that night, wondering whether I should kill him or what I should do. I have been to 13 primary schools, primary, not high school, primary schools. And what would happen and how I ended up being in 13 primary schools is my dad would come and then he'd fight, and then my mom would be like, you know what, I'm done, I'm tired of this mess. Guys, tomorrow we are leaving. And so we live in town A. Tomorrow she goes, finds a pickup or a truck, and then we find ourselves in town B. So because town A is far, because we had to go far, a place where we presumed he could not find us. You'd have to go to a new school, and then you'd have to do the interviews again. Luckily I did not repeat. I kept going forward. Was I affected? Yes. I'd always been a middle sort of average performer. I knew I could have been better, but every time when you focus on something, every time you're working towards that exam, you're in this environment, you're used to these new people, boom, you've moved on to the next school. Some other time, my dad, they were fighting, I think in class 3, they were fighting with my mom, and it was so bad that my mom broke her arm. And so because we panicked, me and my sisters, we panicked, and we were really small. We ran out of the house and went and knocked on a neighbor's door and told the neighbor, we think dad is gonna kill mom, come and help us. So akatoka, so the neighbor got out of the house, ran to the chief, told the chief what is going on, and the chief came. Then my dad was arrested. I remember he was arrested at night, and he was taken away for something like a year. And then he came back saying how he's nice and how he's good and how he's changed. And then, of course, you know how people who are, who have an addiction or who are battling drugs and alcohol tend to be. So because of how toxic our house was, and when I say toxic, I mean you know your dad comes home like at 8, so you guys make sure that you've cooked food and you've eaten by 7, so that by 7:30 you're even done with your homework, so that you go to bed and go to sleep, because you don't want him to find you there. In a normal family, of course, that would not be the case. It was so bad you would never go and tell your dad, hi dad, I need a pencil, or I need a pen, or I need a book. We could not do that in our house. We used to tell our mom. And my mom was the breadwinner in our house, mostly because my dad could not keep a job, because every time he gets a new good job, maybe he'd fight with the boss, or maybe he'd drink too much, and then he'd mess up at work, and then they'd just let him go. So we found ourselves being very weird kids. So weird in the sense that we could not play with other kids in the compound, because we felt they'd look at us and they'd be like, ndo wale wa watoto wakina mama so and so. We are always with bruises. I remember me, I used to have bruises all the time from the fighting that we'd do with my dad. We'd be in class, all the right answers, everyone is getting all the answers wrong, but you can't lift your hand to say, hi, the answer is X. And we had this inherent fear. It's like a fear that we acquired. We could not, even in family meetings, we just could not say anything unless we are asked to say. So we had this fear that we could not even hang around the people who we knew and be comfortable with them, as we just used to huddle in a corner, play amongst ourselves. So that's me and my sisters, and just avoid interacting with everyone else, because we felt that maybe they were judging us, or we did not know how to, we just didn't know how to be social with people. And that affected us even in school, and even now when I went to high school. I remember, I don't think I'm supposed to be an introvert. I think I became an introvert because of the setting in which I grew in, because I'd want to go and hang out with the cool kids. I'd really even fit in with them in the moments when I'd let myself loose. But that was, on very rare occasions. All this negativity that I was brought up in, of course, had to have an impact in the person I became when I grow up. And now I'm here, 24, with responsibilities, trying to find my own, defining my own path, and still being, still having to battle with the things that, I went through when I was growing up. I'm still having to work really hard to build back the confidence that was taken away while I was growing up. I'm still trying to find ways of not being awkward, when I want to meet new people. I'm still trying to find a way to, have conversations with strangers, and also trying to be sure, because I think looking back, I usually say that I think the thing that I struggled with, or I continued to struggle with even when I was growing up, was that I wasn't ever sure of whether I was doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Because my dad was, he'd say, this is what needs to be done. And if you ever did anything else that, was equally as good or maybe even not as good as what he did, you'd always be like, I don't know if I'm doing what's supposed to be done. So this being unsure of, what step do I make, what do I do next, is what I had to, or I'm still grappling with. Right now, I run a non-profit, Felesi Trust. But I had never imagined myself to be in this place that I am in right now, because this is not who we had been brought up to be. And I remember we used to think, and by we I mean me and my sisters, we used to think, our life is ruined. We will never go anywhere, we'll never do anything different, because who's there to support us, who's there to back us up, who's there to give us the confidence that we did not have. We literally did not have. No one ever said, well done, in our house. No one ever said, you really, you've done well. No one ever said, in our house we didn't even say, I love you. We didn't have those things. So now, here I am, a CEO, leading a team and having to be this very compassionate person, having to be this person who's always like, yeah, you can do it, motivating people, pushing them, telling them in a nice way when they, trying to find nice ways of saying things when they mess up, instead of what we are used to, which was, you are stupid, you're foolish, mjinga sana. Trying to be nice about, everything, trying to see the good side of even bad things or bad situations. I have managed to somewhat overcome, the fear that paralyzes me, and so it no longer makes me unable to move. I would say it pushes me to move and to act, because now I'm like, you know what? I'm my own champion. I can only count on myself. And the things that my dad did, regardless of, whatever they were, are in the past. Can't change them. Can't do anything now. All I can try and do is become a better person. This story has many angles that you could take. It's about, how you bring up kids really affects who they become. The things that you say in your house, the things that you do, where you guys live, they really have an impact on what your kids turn out to be. This is also a story about the fact that where you come from does not necessarily have to determine where you will end up. You can actually, decide by way of, yourself coming to yourself and saying, is this what I want? What can I do about it? And, going far and above and beyond everything that you know, because when you grow up, all you know is what your teachers told you and your parents told you. Going beyond those things to decide what you want, and pushing for those things. It's about moms being strong for for their kids. It's about dads being responsible for their kids and the way they bring kids up. It's about the experiences that you give your children in the way that you want them, in how you want them to end up when they're grown-ups.